Hello. Um, I greet you in the name of the Lord. Uh, Thankful for each one of you that have decided to give me a few minutes of your time. And felt like I might should do this. Some had suggested it, but um, be the situation that it is that we can't meet in church and that we're not able to do as we normally do face to face. I thought maybe a word of encouragement from the scripture might be useful. There are many streamed broadcasts and other things like that going on today, and they're wonderful. And so I intend to share a few words with you, but not much. But if you don't get anything from my words, there are plenty other excellent places to go. Uh, but what I did feel like was necessary was to talk to you. We hear much these days about what we should do as a group and as a church, as a community, as a country, as a world, for that matter, as a state, and those things are very valuable and very important. But ultimately, and first and foremost, in my opinion, it is first we have to start with you. You have to understand who you are, what you need to do, and how you deal with this situation. Because first, we have to be strong. We, as a church, as God's people, as those who are a people of faith, we have a responsibility to be strong. For it is, the scripture says, we that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. That means if we're going to do things together and I'm going to be able to help someone else, I need to first be able to be strong enough to offer help. And so I felt like it would be useful if we looked at what it is that how we should respond to this. There's a lot of information out there, and being what it is, a the kind of thing from the world of science. And if you know anything about science, and I love science, and it's I use the same method, scientific method, to understand the scripture as I do every scientist use, and that is, you gather as much data as possible, and the more data you have, the better. And then you try to interpret that data, and you try to interpret it in the most accurate way that includes all the data. And that's why you've got some differences of opinions when you hear people talking about this virus. And the best method you'll see, because some of the data you're seeing is maybe a little outdated, some of it's current, and then some of it's just speculation. So it's hard to know which is the best data. But for ministers, we all have the same body of data. And the reason there's differences in ministers' views is because it's hard as a minister to incorporate all of the data. In other words, look at the whole picture of the whole Bible to make a decision about what a text really means. So I'm not here to say anything about the fact that we do need to take much attention to the best sources of information that we have. But I'm quite confident as well, knowing scientific community in the process, that down the road we will know much more. Down the road we will have much clearer understanding of what we should do, how best to handle it. But right now everybody's just learning, and everybody's doing their best. Um, but for us as people, what should we do? And so I've thought of the story that is quite popular, and most of you would know it, is the story about whenever God made a promise to Moses that he should go into this land that he's promised. It's supposed to be so much better than what he has. And he tells him that he should go there, that he decides to send in a group of spies, if you will, basically a recon team that goes in and checks everything out, checks the possibility of military positioning, of resources that survivor wants to get there, what they're up against as far as an opposition or opposing army. And so they go in and they do this. And they come back and they report to Moses and Aaron, the leaders. And they basically say it's everything God said. It's everything in the world we want, but there's some major opposition. There's a big army. There's some huge people, great warriors, and we're no match for them. Well, there was a man in there, and there was two men there that agreed, but there was one man spoke up, and it's in Numbers chapter 13, somewhere middle, 25 to 30, somewhere along there, a man named Caleb. And Caleb stands up, and Caleb says, we know all this, but we can still do it. We can still do it. They're there. It's real, but we can still do it. And that's the position that I think we should take. I think that I know this. The virus is here. It's real. The sanctions are real. The deaths are real. The disease is real. But I still think we can do it. I still think, as people of faith, we need to decide we can do this. Need to know everything. Do like they did. They took all the recon. They took all the information. They took all the data. They gathered it in. But there is a difference in how you interpret data, and that's always been. We all live in the same world, but we all don't see the world the same way. And if you determine that you are going to go through this, whatever, you determine to God, you trust, you put your life in God's hands, you make a commitment to God, and you say, okay, God, you are above all things. I live a while. I'm here for a short time. I'm here for a reason, and help me to see what that reason is. And then you trust him that he can get you through that, and also trust in the fact that you're capable of doing it. I know we have the we combined collective faith, because that's why we go to church, to have a collective faith, because it's encouraging. We encourage one another. But ultimately, you got to start with you. You need faith. You need to know that you're going to get through this yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're young and healthy, or if you're old and you've been through sickness, or your immune is compromised, or you've been through a lot of things. Because listen, I know a lot of you guys, and all of you have been through crisis just as severe as, matter of fact, more severe. A lot of you have been through cancer and surgeries and heart disease and heart attacks, and you've seen financial disasters, and you've had your homes torn apart. I've seen all of you have been through crisis like this. And what got you through that will get you through this. And I'm not afraid of this at all. I'm concerned about it for people, but I'm not afraid. And you say, well, don't you think you're too healthy? No, I don't think. I may get it, and I may get it really bad. I may be one of the people who needs that ventilator. But God will get me through that. That's what I know. He's in charge. He will see to it that I will get through it. I've trusted him with my whole life, and I've followed him my whole life, and he has never failed me. And I'm not concerned about this. He will get me through this, whatever it is, and he'll get you through. But the key is that what can you do? And there's not a lot you can do. You can follow the directions of social distancing and all that to protect yourself and other people. But really the matter is one in your heart. And I know there's people who says it doesn't really matter, but for me, it matters a lot. It does matter what you believe. That does affect the outcome of things. That does affect the outcome. What you believe today is what you need to focus on. If you consider and think about the past, a lot of times it'll make you depressed. If you think about the future a lot of times it'll give you anxiety. Focus on today. Where are you with God today? If you have a problem trusting God, I'll tell you what the main source or the main cause for most people trust God. Now, some people have their doubts because of some of the things they've seen. But if you're a Christian, if you've made a commitment to God at some point, and if you somewhat feel a distance from him, it's probably because something you feel like you've done wrong. Not that may or may not have, but as long as you feel like you've done something wrong, then that's going to separate you. It's going to make you feel like God doesn't care. And it's not that God's moved away from you, but it's this guilt or disappointment or whatever. That's what's distancing you. Get rid of that. Ask God to forgive you for that. And then do as Caleb did. Realize we're up against something that's dangerous. We're up against something that's a risk. There is risk in life. I'm not preaching to you that God is, if you trust him, he's going to keep anything bad from happening to you. That is not it. There's no example in the Bible. What it means is that men and women who follow God could sing in prison. They could take beatings. They could be burned alive. They stood against that. They were thrown in lions' dens. They were thrown in, and some of them, the scripture says, weren't rescued, weren't preserved. But they've done it knowing that they may lose, knowing I may get this, knowing this may come to my home, knowing that I may have to deal with this. I still choose to trust God. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Don't be afraid. Don't doubt. Don't be afraid. Be strong. Be brave. Take this. You don't have to be afraid. God is on your side. You can do this. You can win this. You can overcome this. That's what I want to remind you of today. And I pray that this is of value to you. I pray that you can get something from it. More so, settle this with you and God. Say to God today, God, I'm going to do everything I know to do to try to get through this and deal with it the right way, and let me be strong enough to be a light and encouragement to someone else. Because we do need each other very much, but we need to be strong first. We need to be salt and light. Salt and light doesn't make any noise. Salt and light just does what it does. And we don't have to go out and tell everybody what's going on or whatever we think. Just stand and be strong and be loving and be kind and do what you should do. Thank you for watching me today. If you've given me this much time, I appreciate it. I almost started to put maybe a roll or two of toilet paper on the shelf behind me because I thought that that would surely know everybody would watch me the whole way through. But Darnell said that wasn't a good idea, and I know everybody doesn't understand my sense of humor, but nonetheless, I really do know that we're going to get through this in the sense of each of us will get through it in our own way, and each of us will have a different journey and a different experience through all this. But just trust the Lord and be there, and we'll get to meet again face to face real soon. God bless you.